Well, we're putting the state of the Gauteng economy into the spotlight this morning. MEC for Gauteng Economic Development, Nkosi Pendule Kolisile, joins us for that conversation today. Also with us in conversation is Craig Pfeiffer from ABSA Investments and Brandon Sachs from Avio Research. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this morning. And MEC, let's perhaps start off with you because, as I said, we're putting the state of the Gauteng economy under the spotlight. That's very broad, but give us a sense of what we're looking at from a growth perspective when it comes to the Gauteng province.
Thanks. Gauteng continues to be one of the provinces where there is great potential for economic growth. Currently, we are standing at about 35% in terms of the GDP. We contribute a lot to SADC GDP and to Africa's GDP. We are number 4 or the 4th largest economy in the continent. So that positions us far ahead even in terms of comparing us with other countries in the continent. But there are huge challenges. One greatest challenge is the whole question of unemployment, which currently stands at about 25.2%, equal to that of South Africa. It's one of the challenges. But we think, given the strategies such as your Gauteng Employment Growth and Development Strategy, our medium-term strategy framework, given the national programs such as your National Development Plan, which focuses especially on saying by 2030, we as South African economies have improved on a number of things. The quality of life in South Africa must have changed. We are focusing on a few things. Skills development is becoming one of the critical areas. You know, the National Development Agents, Plan, the National Development Plan focuses in the main in education. If we have to achieve all those things, education becomes also key.
Yeah.
You put it in the center, you make sure that the skills levels of the people are improved, productivity levels are improved. But on the other side, the question of entrepreneurship creation, creating job creators becomes very, very important for an economy such as ours. More than 12.3 people are now found in this province. That puts a lot of work and expectations on this province.
So that's some of the priorities that you've actually tabled in terms of job creation and that fostering more inclusive economic growth as a whole. Craig?
Thank you, MEC. We heard, I don't know if it was a week or two ago, that Gauteng was now the most populous province
It is,
in the country, our small little patch of earth here. And we seem to be attracting a lot more people, a bit of urbanization, and just coming in from other centres. What pressure does that place on Gauteng budget? And
it's a lot of pressure in terms of employment creation, on our services, health, on daily basis. People come from various parts of the country and even outside the country. But we think we've got very, very good plans in terms of, in fact, the fact that many people still see Gauteng as a place where opportunities are to be found. That in itself is an indication that Gauteng does by far better. You know, our number 2 in terms of GDP is KZN. They are standing at 16%. We are 35.2 or so percent in terms of our contribution to GDP. Number 2 is KZN, and you find our number 3 trailing us at 14%. And the rest of other provinces, I think about 4 or 5 of them, sharing 7%. So that's the position we are in. It's going to be a lot of pressure because people expect us, the more we continue doing more, the urbanization, the in-migration and all these things, the more we continue doing more, the more expectations. Hence, we think entrepreneurship creation, skills development, productivity in the workplace, partnerships, working with government, private sector, civil society, bring the people together, let people think more. With all those things, your tourism, your manufacturing sectors, your ICT, focusing on them, we think we can continue propelling this economy.
On a comparative basis, as you've highlighted, we're contributing massively to the overall GDP
Hugely.
Of the country, and compared to the rest of the provinces in South Africa at this stage of the game. Where does our potential lie, though? How much of that gap needs to be filled at this stage?
Still a lot of gap, but we think potential in human capital. We need to develop the skills, the mobility of the people. We need to develop a lot in terms of innovation. We've got very, very great establishments in place through, for instance, the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, which is a measure of Blue IQ and JEDA. We've got an organization such as the Innovation Hub, where we're working in partnership with the universities, the R&D organizations. Work, for instance, with the University of in Atlanta, in the US, University of Emory. We work with the University of Pretoria. We work with VETS. We've got a lot of programs that are there in place. But I think skills development, innovation, entrepreneurship, partnerships, we can do more.
There's an abundance of programs, there's an abundance of blueprints. So whether you're looking at it on a provincial basis, on a national basis, Brandon, it's implementation that always gets thrown into the spotlight, though, and how effectively we can implement what's tabled on paper. Where are your confidence levels sitting right now?
Well, I think for me, just one question is, and it's maybe quite a controversial issue at the moment, is the e-tolls. And I don't know if maybe to answer this question for you, but you're talking about unemployment being as high as what it is at the country, in the country at the moment. You're obviously saying 35% GDP in Gauteng, we contribute the most to the country. So obviously we don't have a problem contributing financially to South Africa's growth in the Gauteng area. So my question is one, how does e-tolls then, why do we need e-tolls for that? And secondly, if now this comes in, how is that going to affect congestion, in terms of traffic, and really in the Sandton area? Because like you're saying earlier, there's so many people starting to come into the Sandton or Joburg or Gauteng area looking for employment. So how does that now affect, when you've already got such congestions, does e-tolls take away from that?
Well, governments everywhere make choices. The choice South African government made in terms of improvement on the road infrastructure, I think everybody will agree, is quite important. Moving from the narrow roads we used to have driving on 2 or at most 3 lanes to now up to 5 lanes in some of the roads. No one can dispute that. I believe, and I'm not saying this is the position of government, that the weakest link in this whole question of tolling was on consultation, taking people on board and ensuring that before the implementation gets spoken about, everybody is on board. No one disagrees that we do not need the road infrastructure we have. I think we have, as government, learned a lesson, though. We are beginning to talk, and the fact that government has put this thing in abeyance for such a long term simply means that we have got a government that is prepared to listen, a government that believes in people's views. I just think perhaps we woke up a little bit late in this case and started filling up the gaps quite a bit late. But it's quite important. It doesn't happen in many countries where you have government postponing such huge programs in terms of implementation, even at a huge cost, up to where I think really we've bent a lot backward as government. But I think with an important aim of ensuring that we fulfill the aspirations of the people, the expectations as a democratic government. I think we've done that, and I think we've reached out a lot. It doesn't necessarily take away the grievances and concerns of the people 100%.
How does
but
this
we've
affect
done more.
then, with the benefit of hindsight, how does this possibly affect the way you think about funding models moving forward, even if it is to build up strategic economic infrastructure? As you say, no one can dispute the benefit, but how that actually gets funded moving forward has to be a big question that needs to be addressed.
I think government, including the national government, has spoken about this, that perhaps going forward, we will have to rethink about the funding models so that perhaps the manner in which... I also don't think it is more about the funding model. The view I hold really is how the whole question of public participation, consultation, was carried out or not, in fact, sufficiently carried out. To me, for as long as you do not have that capital to fund that particular development, whether you go to this bank or to that bank, or you go to that person in terms of the PPP partnerships and all these things, for as long as the people will still have to pay in whatever way, because whatever we do as government, this money in the main comes from the fiscus, is the money of the people. It's just that perhaps we don't explain a lot that even if we do not take it through the tolls, we might still do it through the fuel levy, we might still do it through that other means. So the whole question to me really hinges around communication, and that's what people want, and they will completely be satisfied.